Hey everyone, welcome to episode 50 of AI GTM Talks. We're super excited. We've made it way to half a century here. My name is Mani Iyer, here from Kwanzaa, and with me is Prashant Mantri. Prashant, how are you?
Hey, Mani, good to be back again. Doing well.
No,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thanks for joining. So, Prashant, you know this. I mean, this is exciting for us because we kicked off these AI GTM talks, a year ago, and it's been we kind of said, you know what, we're gonna do this every Thursday at 8:30 for 45 minutes. Kind of have interesting conversations with AI GTM tech CEOs. We also bring on revenue leaders, growth leaders. We bring on folks like yourself for like, GTM practitioners and experts in different areas, and always has been interesting. And you know, I thought for today's episode, the Kwanzaa team and I said, you know what, why don't we bring back some of the amazing guests we've had? So you are the first, and we're gonna have a couple more who are gonna drop in. So we're gonna have, Gorish Agarwal, who's the CEO of Sibyl AI, who's gonna come by in a bit, and then Bala Vishnath, who's the CMO at Seekout, he's gonna come by a little bit later. So hopefully, it's going to be an exciting episode. Bunch of stuff happening. Uh, so, so Prashant,
Absolutely.
I thought we maybe we'll start here. What I'm gonna do next is I'm just gonna switch from this cover slide just to give people a feel for. Uh, we'll just introduce you real quick. If you want to say a little bit about the GTM Walnut, what you do. I know you and that our team, your team is collaborating with a bunch of different things around signal-based GTM, signal-based pipeline growth. A couple of things you want to say, and then we'll get on with it. Yeah,
Absolutely, Mani. Yeah, as you, I mean, we've been, connecting and collaborating on a lot of projects together.
yeah,
Um, so I have a team of four people, and we're primarily focused on solving GTM using AI. Our
you're right.
focus areas are uh, I mean, we sort of started with very base level demand generation and lead generation, and then moved to the advanced stuff. We obviously use Kwanzaa as one of the tools, and then move to intent based signals, and then right now we're focusing a lot on GTM transformation using AI, as in implement systems that will solve problems right from marketing all the way till sales. And then
Yep.
of late, been trying to do a bunch of stuff with Cloud Code. As you know, the
Mm.
things that we discussed probably a year earlier seem to be not relevant anymore with so much of things going on. So yeah, I mean, it's been a journey where we've been trying to discover ourselves as well, and
Yeah.
excited to be a part of this again, Money. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. No, we'll get into a lot of that, right, and very soon, because I'm super excited to talk about, the kind of things we talked about when you came, a few weeks ago, and then there was another session we had, a couple of months ago, and then, wow, literally every few weeks the world seems to change yet again.
Yeah.
Uh, so what I thought, why don't we do this is like a year in review and a look forward. So let me do the year in review part, right, before we start talking about the look forward. So on the review side of things, here's what I wanted to put up, Prashant, and let's kind of share this with people because they may not know this, which is if you can literally go into uh, the Kwanzaa website, and I'm going to bring up this resources page we have on our site. This is literally the episodes are all here for people to go and watch, right? So we kicked it off, where we had Sri Harsha, who's the CEO of Hyperbound. He came and he talked about AI, role play for sales. Karthi came in, spoke about video, right? AI for video. We had EJ Cho, who's the CEO of Tofu HQ, right? He came in, talked about cross-channel personalization and how do you how's marketing changing because of AI, and especially around, right, LinkedIn content distribution, on and on, right? Arjun Pillai talked about marketing agents on websites. Uh, Interesting chat with him about I mean they've changed from they were calling themselves AI sales engineers, but now it's more about, right, AI marketing agents and AI agents for sales teams. The list goes on, but just to give you a flavor, right? We've of course, Gorish is coming in, so that'll be an interesting chat with him. We've also had revenue leaders like Jonathan Moss here, who leads the AI and GTM channel on Pavilion. By the way, as you know, this Prashant, we also actually myself and another colleague of mine through Pavilion, we co-moderate the signal-based GTM channel on Pavilion. So we have having very interesting conversations there too. And then if you think about it, Nalin came in, he talked about demo automation. Bala is going to be joining us, right? So Bala came and spoke earlier, as you can see, quite several months ago, around the pre-sales influence. How are buyers, being influenced before they come in, right, and get into a sales cycle, sales process. And as I think then, Chintu is really, really, has amazing insights. We actually want to have Chintu Parik, who's the CMO at NOps, come back. But let's talk, Prashant, specifically about a couple of sessions that I know you did for us. One other thing I'll mention before we switch over to you, Prashant, is David Quaid. I think this is since AI, SEO, Geo is such a hot topic. I thought I'll do a call out for David and what he spoke about. Nicholas, of course, a well-known analyst, talked about the data layer and CDPs and what's happening on the sales side, and closer to, I'm sure, to some of the topics we will be discussing today. So let me, with this, there's too many here to get into for too much longer. So I'm going to switch back, Prashant, to our discussion, right? So talk about, if you can, the two sessions you did for us, right? And then we want to do like a checkpoint on what you did in the last couple of sessions and how the world has changed since those two sessions. Back to you.
Absolutely, Mani. I was just reflecting before this call, and
Yeah.
I actually took 15 minutes to reflect back on our episode number. I think that was 42, which was on micro ICPs.
Got it.
Now, before I get into saying that things have changed a lot and portion of that is redundant, let me just speak about what we actually covered in that episode.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Basically, there are ways in which a company needs to find a starting point for themselves to figure out how am I going to find revenue for myself, right? If they're implementing AI in their GTM at the moment. And for that thing to happen, they need to be clear on what sort of customers, what sort of segments that they can go after. A couple of examples could be that if their ICP is trying to expand to new markets, then that's a trigger and a signal for them. If there are new hires in one of their ICP companies, new hires tend to respond better to your messages, phone calls, emails, or LinkedIn messages. So it's important for a company to first identify those broad blocks. And then the next step is find a data provider, input all of these, firmographic, technographic, revenue filters, job descriptions, job titles, and find a really clean lead list. Put the company level triggers on top of that, personalize it, and then start doing our outreach, right? Now, we until last year, or until say mid of 2020, I would say maybe September, October, what we would do as a GTM engineer would sit down and literally input those filters into a data provider tool that could be as big as a tool like an Apollo or a Zoom Info, or even inbuilt inbuilt data solutions within other big tools. Over the past 3 to 4 months, with more command line interfaces coming in, and when I say command line interfaces, there's things like Cloud Code, there's Cursor, that has sort of automated this entire process. For example, today, we have a couple of tools like Exa and Parallel Web Systems that have actually scraped the entire web. And you can literally speak to the LLM and they will help you do the account research. They will help you find the lead list. They'll help you refine based on prompts. So basically, what you were doing with LLMs, where you were asking questions and the LLM would give you an answer, that's what has happened to lead list building and micro list creation as well. So what we are doing today is, for example, I have a Cloud Code terminal, and on Cloud Code, I have integrated myself with Exa or with parallel web systems. If I give
Mm,
it 10 companies, it's connecting with their MCP servers via APIs. It's
mm,
doing all of the research, giving me triggers that are required. It is also helping me find the right people. It's also,
mm.
and since it is agentic, it's Claude, it's agentic, it has the Opus 4.6 is very powerful. It is able to create all those emails, messages, which a GTM engineer would do manually and take hours to do it, and maybe in September 2025. So that's the big change that has happened, and massive productivity improvement in the past 3 to 4 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah. The funny thing in what you just said, and people don't even realize it, is we
Yeah,
would, normally you talk about in years, right? You say
yeah,
2 years ago, what happened? What's now?
yeah,
A year ago, what happened? Now you're literally
yeah,
talking in months. You're like,
yeah,
here's what I was doing back in October, September,
yeah,
October. Now here's what I'm doing now. It's already
yeah,
so
yeah,
different. I mean, that's amazing. Um, Now, one other thing, Prashant, before we go too far, I thought maybe we'll set the broader picture for how we've been collaborating, and we've come up with this 10 layer like an AI sales automation process that I know we collaborated and put together. So let me bring that up because that's an interesting high level view of things for people to think about.
yeah,
Because you know this, right? I mean, it's crazy that all these B2B companies do all this GTM stuff, and there is no, call it a standard framework for
yeah,
even getting stuff going. I mean,
yeah,
all these tools, each tool has different capabilities. It can do a bit of this, a little bit of that, and people don't know how to put stuff together. So
yeah,
I was talking to the CEO of a company, and he was telling me that is one of his big pain points. He's like, he's going crazy. He's like, what are we doing with all these tools? So let me put
yeah,
that up. Uh,
yeah.
and maybe can you talk about the AI GTM Cafe we're kicking off on the 18th, and then we're going to do it once a month. I think on the Wednesday of every month, the second or third Wednesday of each month. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah. Over
absolutely,
to you.
Mani. So the would you be pulling that up, or should I speak about the
Yeah, yeah.
GTM? Yeah,
No, I just did. Yeah, go ahead. So
yeah,
this is certainly would be the framework, but then we're going to
yeah,
be peeling the layers of the onion here, right?
yeah,
Yeah, back to
yeah.
you.
Yeah, so there's a lot of steps and process around here. The broad idea is, how do you look at 7 to 8 steps that every company eventually needs to work on? And it starts from your company accounts, what sort of signals that you're looking at, how do you filter them down using firmographic, technographic data. There's some data orchestration on database, data moving from your CRM, Google Sheets, Superbase, where all of your data is sitting in. The next bunch of stuff, the next steps are basically, how do you then find the right people and their contact information. There are a couple of agents that we put in. In this case, we are using N8 and a couple of other agents to orchestrate the flow between multiple tools. And there's a human in the loop approval that comes into the picture before any of outreaches, any messages start going out to people, right?
Yeah,
And then, as you can see, there's a usually people start from point number 7. Money is where they say, hey, I have a LinkedIn tool and I have email tool and I want to blast it. But as you can see,
yeah,
there are 6 different steps that need to happen before you come here, right? Just getting
that's
those
right.
initial tools of Dripify or a voice AI or a newsletter campaign is not going to solve problems for you. It's
Hmm.
important that you follow those 6 steps, then you come to the 7th step where you're using a tool to send out to people. And once that's done, there's basically step 8, 9, and 10 are basically, how do you handle the leads? How do you route the conversations to your SDRs if they want to pick up a lead and then have a follow up conversation? How does the meeting scheduling and handoff, etc., happen? So while a tool is important, it's important to understand that there are around 8 to 9 very, very important steps. Companies at different scales, for example, if a company is doing just $5 million of revenue, probably 9 steps may not be important for them right now. Probably just 4 to 5 steps are important. A company doing $100 million revenue might need more steps beyond this, right? We'll have to probably look
Yep.
at the existing process and deep dive more. But the AI GTM Cafe is basically going to be peeling each of these layers and saying, what's the right way to implement each of these steps, and
Hmm.
I think before that, most important point that we'll be covering is why do we need that step in the first place? Why is that step even required? And
Yeah,
the thought process and the logic behind how did we come across these 9 steps? And most of it is based on the collaborations money that we've done. We've worked
yeah.
with clients. We've seen that this is the most efficient manner in which these 8 to 9 steps, when carried out, can give you meaningful revenue over the longer term for companies.
Yeah, no, look, I think the other thing that now that we have this framework, I'm finding super interesting is when I look at a tool, I immediately start mapping out the tool's capabilities and
Yeah.
what is it doing for me for layer one? What is it doing for me for layer five? What's it doing for me for layer eight? And they seem to be, frankly, all over the place.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah.
because some of them are trying to be all in one, but then
Yeah.
they're condensing some stuff, they're ignoring some stuff, and they're not set up to enable certain things. And so it's back to a mishmash. So that's why people suddenly go buy an AI SDR tool, and the AI
Yeah.
SDR tool may do a little bit of one,
Yeah.
just a piece of one, then it
Yeah.
does a piece of number three, then it does email pushing and leaves the rest out. And
Yeah.
so then they're like, okay, how does this connect and tie into everything else I got to get done,
Yeah.
right? And so it's really fascinating, and then
Yeah, absolutely. I agree to the point, and it's more like a shiny object syndrome where someone sees a tool and they think that hey, this is going to solve all my problems.
yes,
No, the tool is not going to solve the problem. People need to first understand where and for what purpose are they going to implement it. For example, let's take an example of say Kwanzaa social monitoring, right?
mm,
Um, Someone might say that hey, social monitoring is going to be important, but we figured out that your ICP's got to be active on social media, otherwise the social monitoring tool is not going to help, right?
exactly.
So that sort of heuristics is very important to first understand. Okay, how is my ICP behaving, and then you
Mm,
overlay and say, okay, this is the behavior of my ideal customer. In order to track that ideal behavior, how do I go and implement a tool? For example, I have 15,000 website visitors coming onto my, sorry, I have 15,000 visitors coming to my platform per month, right? Let me go
yep,
and find a tool like Kwanzaa that has the ability to give me high quality visitor de-anonymization, right? That's
right,
the
right.
important logic that everyone needs to think before going in and implementing any sort of tool.
Got it. So, look, I know we have a couple more speakers who are going to be
Yeah.
joining us, but I do want to have you spend 5 minutes because I know folks are watching, listening. Uh, how do you see things changing for individual marketers in terms of driving more efficiency in how they get things done? I think that's something you've been working on, right? I think you've got this whole Claude set up, you've got your
Yeah.
CLI interface, you have a way to that you're able to do multiple actions, to multiple. Can you give like a quick 5 minutes on that?
Right, Mani. So there are some 3 to 4 places that we've seen that there has been significant amount of improvement. And I would say that today I've gotten back about 2 to 3 hours, or maybe more than that. I don't know. I've not tracked it, but at least 2 to 3 hours per week back for myself because
Yeah.
Cloud Code is sort of automating a lot of things for me.
Yeah, can
Um,
you show people what you're automating with
yeah,
Cloud Code? 'Cause I think a lot of people are curious about it. They hear about Cloud Code, they hear about Copilot, they hear about Co-work, and they're like, okay, what do I do with it? So yeah, okay. Can you
yeah,
show us some
100%.
examples of what you're doing with Cloud Code?
Yeah. Let me know if this is visible to you, Mani.
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the terminal, right?
Okay. Hmm.
This is the Cloud Code terminal, and I'll tell you what Cloud Code terminal actually means. You can think of so you have an interface where you're going and speaking to Cloud Code, or sorry, Claude or Chat GPT or a Grok or a Gemini, right? That's the browser level actions that you have when you log into that. What Cloud
Yep.
Code is doing is that there is a terminal inside every computer, and there is an initial setup that's required. It's not very complicated. I can share that later on if anyone's interested. You
No,
basically
hey,
are connecting.
that's
Yeah,
where they have to come for the cafe, right?
yeah, 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 absolutely.
That's the whole
Yeah,
point of the cafe. So, guys,
yeah,
if you want
absolutely.
to really dig deep into this stuff, Prashant is giving you a teaser. You're gonna have to come to our cafe. It's
Yeah.
Wednesday. I'm going to do a plug here. Wednesday, March 18th, 8 a.m. Pacific. And you just need to, there's a Luma link that, we're going to drop at the bottom of this video, LinkedIn live session. Please register. And we're going to be doing it every month. So we're going to give you really, really deep stuff, similar to what Prashant is showing. Yeah, back to you, Prashant.
Yeah, so will it's a minor setup that's there. Once you do the setup, basically what it means is you're accessing Claude from your terminal, from your computer, and Claude code, when accessed from your computer, is 5x, 6x more powerful than what you're able to do within your browser actions. I'll
Got
give
it.
you about 8 to 9 things that I've been able to do in the past couple of months.
Yeah. Hey,
Um,
Prashant, real quick, let's say hi to Gorish. Gorish, how are you? Thanks for jumping in.
Hey Mani, hey Prashant,
hey,
good to be
Ganesh.
here.
Yeah, so I know Gorish, this is our episode 50 of AI GTM Talks. Thank you for agreeing to come join us. I was telling people that, we're going to have guests come by who've done prior episodes. So I know you did an amazing one, way back on sales tech. So we're going to switch over to you very soon. And we want you to
Awesome.
tell us all about how the world of sales tech has changed, since the last
Yep.
time you came on. So Prashant, take a couple of minutes, and we're just giving folks a preview of this AI GTM Cafe we're kicking off next week. So this is Claude Code. So Prashant, just give the high level, and then
Yeah,
we'll do more in our follow-on session.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So there are about 8 to 9 things that I've been able to work on, and I
yeah,
see massive improvements. One is account level research. I already spoke about this. Cloud Code gets connected to Exa and then parallel web systems where you give in a
yeah.
bunch of companies and it's able to connect to those MCPs and give you high level, very deep contextual intent coming back to you. If you
Got
look
it.
at point number three, for example, a lot of GTM engineers work with a lot of Excel sheets, doing a lot of VLOOKUPs and things like that, moving data from one tool to the other.
Yeah.
There's a very powerful productivity improvement that I've seen for myself.
Hmm.
Basically, I can show this to you. If you see this thing, this is a voice recorder for me that's coming on the top right. I'm able to
Okay.
use this to literally speak to, so this is how it gives me. I'm literally speaking to Claude Code,
Hmm.
and Claude Code is doing all of the actions within my computer. So I say, open this file, do changes to this file, verify this email IDs. All of that is happening literally via, voice to text, prompts. And then
Okay.
the most important thing that we discussed, and we've spoken about this money multiple times, is the diagram that you just showed, the 9-step process, right? And I'll tell
Yeah.
you how I actually created. I remember we brainstormed about this in a meeting, and I had my Fireflies MCP connected to Cloud Code. I mean, in the meeting, I had
Okay.
my note taker. I literally came back to Cloud Code and I said, here's the Fireflies note taker. Here's what we have discussed. Here's the bunch of prompts and steps that I'm giving you. I wanted to create a very great workflow for me. Basically, I
Hmm.
didn't have to do anything. It created the workflow. It went ahead and published it on Vercel. It used some designs from Canva to come up with really great designs. So basically, what I'm trying to say is the workflow that we just showed, I literally used Claude Code to do it and took me about half an hour to do it. And that's something that we're gonna discuss in our GTM cafe. That will be
Yeah.
vastly helpful for a lot of GTM folks trying to implement Cloud Code in their business.
Amazing, amazing. Now, Prashant, yeah, let's switch over to Gorish. I know he's
Yeah,
here, and we have 5 minutes. I guess and I know hopefully Gorish, you got about 10 minutes at least for us.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us about Gorish about the session you did, Sibyl
Mhm.
AI. You did one, I think it was several months ago. And how's the world changed, your world in terms of sales tech since then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the session we did, I announced that we launched our first ever context graph for customer data during
Okay.
that session.
Hmm.
Now that context graph has basically evolved into a system of context. So it's an entire context layer for the revenue execution workflows across the
Okay.
organization. And a
Hmm.
few different things that have powered it is essentially your models, the foundational models have gotten much better. So
Got
we
it.
don't
So
have.
Goresh, sorry to interrupt, but for folks
No,
who don't know Sybil, can we start? Just give a quick 30-second
yeah,
top level on Sybil, and then we can get into it. Yeah.
yeah. So Sybil is essentially a context layer for your entire revenue uh, organization. And what
Right.
that means is it basically powers all of the underlying agent with
Mm,
context about the specific query or the specific entity that you're looking for. So, as an example, if you're trying to understand how to uh, competitively find an objection against a specific competitor, Sybil
mm,
will provide the context to, like, okay, what has worked with this specific competition in the past, what has worked with this specific vertical in the past, what is this
mm,
customer asking for. So what's the rep style of writing, so that he can actually, so Sybil can actually, or the AI can actually draft the follow up or the email in that specific style. So
mm,
that's essentially our key layer. And then we are
mm,
building workflows on top to
mm.
make execution easier for a rep.
Got it. So you're capturing all the context on the sales side of the house, right? So in a B2B company, you got marketing, you got sales. Sales is dealing with prospects, with existing accounts. They're trying to upsell, cross sell. They need to understand what is going on in any particular account, any particular opportunity. And you guys are giving some insights and intelligence and hopefully the most valuable, useful information for them to go kind of close more business. Is that a good
Yeah,
way to
there
sum
are,
it up? Okay.
yeah,
All right.
there are three kinds of context we're capturing. One is the customer context, so your
Yeah.
accounts, your opportunities, your prospects. Second
Mm,
is your team context, so
mm,
everyone from an individual contributor to the CRO of the company, what their
yeah.
preferences are, their what are their goals, their strategies, their targets. And then there is a
Right.
company's process context, so
Got it.
playbook,
Got it.
product lines, features, objections,
Got it.
and each of these is like evolving with every new interaction.
Got it. So I wanted to show you Gorish because maybe
Mhm.
Prashant, we haven't done that. Maybe Gorish can add some perspective here, given his world. Um, so we between Prashant and I, we came up with this, 10-layer AI sales automation,
Mhm.
kind of stack. I'm curious to hear from your perspective, where can we add the kind of intelligence and insights that Sybil might bring into the mix? Because we clearly, probably
Mhm.
should think about that and figure out how to layer that in, right? So if you look about it, we have all these buying signals up on top, gets into capturing all the signals together. We have a database layer. We do data enrichment, lead scoring, qualification. There's some messages that get set up and sent for approval, right, by the sales leader or sales enablement. There's multi-channel outreach, and obviously we're going to add some more stuff here. And then you have responses coming in, sales conversations, on, and some leads
Yeah.
get qualified, meeting scheduling, territory assignment, SDR, BDR handoff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, in your mind, where would the Sibyl's context layer come in and be useful?
Yeah, three things that I can see directly. One is right at the top, where you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out what is the ICP, what is the message to reach out to. So right
Mm,
now, what happens in organizations is that is typically defined by a person based on their gut reaction or gut understanding of what is working. Uh,
right.
One thing you can do with context is about the customers is you can actually understand what are they resonating with, and
Mm,
who, like which persona and which vertical is resonating with a specific message. So the message
got
layer
it.
becomes very personalized. That's one piece. The
No,
next
no, hold
piece.
on, hold on. Before the message layer, I think even in that very top intent layer or signals layer, you guys are essentially can extract some first-party signals from the CRM, right? Based
Yeah,
on existing customers and prior customer wins and prospects and all that. So I think
yeah.
Prashad, yeah, that's something we should also think about, right, in our cafe, how to continue to enhance this, if you will, the framework on first-party signals. Got it.
One aspect
Okay.
of that would be referrals, for example.
Yeah.
If you have your reps trained to ask for referrals, then
Yeah.
or other people in the network, then that becomes a really high
Got it.
quality
So
signal.
Gaurish, real quick, Prashant, I know you need to jump pretty soon. Did you want to say any
Yeah.
final words and thoughts as you jump off?
No, I think we should definitely, as Gaurish was speaking, we should definitely incorporate Sybil into these workflows.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely an area when it comes to specific sales aspects, which I'm sort of trying to form an opinion when Gaurish was speaking about. We've actually not covered, and that will complement all of the workflows that are over here.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Prashant. And
Thank you.
we just
Thank you
have
so much, man.
had. Thanks. Bye for now.
Thank you,
Um,
Prashant.
Yeah.
so
Thank
the
you.
fun continues. We are on episode 50 of AI GTM Talks, and welcome Bala. Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you. Thank you. It's good here,
Yeah.
Mani.
So, folks who are watching or listening, guys, Bala is amazing. He's the CMO at Seek Out. We've had an opportunity to have him on one of our prior episodes. So, Bala, we did a quick roundup. Gorish did one of our prior episodes. We're talking to Gorish about context graphs, and they've done some amazing work there on the sales side of the house. And Bala, what I'm excited about is you're going to be bringing in more of the marketing side of the house and the perspective in terms of how marketing is changing because of AI and go to market and so forth. But let's spend, Bala, if it's okay with you, we'll spend another few minutes with Gorish, and then we'll be switching over to
Yeah,
you, right?
absolutely. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Gorish, so I think from what you're saying, this whole 10-layer AI GTM, right? AI sales automation process stack that we've developed and we've got it framed here that we've been rolling it out to customers. You already see opportunities, right, to bring in the Sybil type of context graph layer and technology to add at the top level as first-party signals, and then on further down in message crafting. And what are the other use cases that you see, Gorish, for your tech in here?
Yeah. So top level, there are, as you were sharing, I was thinking about top level. Another thing we do with some of our customers is another set of signals is upsell and cross sell. So
Yep.
as you build more feature, and this could be actually churn customers as well. So as you build features, your product evolves. Those are information or features that customers have asked in the past. If I
Yep.
can, like with the context layer that we have, you can actually look at, okay, what are the new features launched? Which of the customers have not bought a platform because of those new features? And that is another
Yeah.
top level signal that should flow into an outreach flow or outbound flow. Then the
Correct. So
next,
so what we realized, Gorish, was that's why you see that we have a CRM here, but we also have a database layer because some people
yeah,
are actually aggregating all of this in a separate database, like a Superbase or Google Sheets, and then using that as a starting point for enrichment and scoring and qualification.
yeah.
Yeah, back to you.
But to create that database, there's typically a human on the other end. If
Correct.
you don't want a human on the other end, if the system has to be fully autonomous, like in a true
Yeah.
sense, then
Mm-hmm.
this kind of information flows in. Then as you go
Yeah.
down, once you are starting to
Mm-hmm.
send messages, those
Yeah.
messages have to be in the voice of the rep, uh,
Right.
and how they like to write, and because they will be taking the leads and replies and then committing them to a deal. So that is another area where team level context helps a lot, because then you're drafting information in the voice of the rep, which then works more autonomously and then goes down to the scheduling preferences and what is required from there. So
Got it.
that's our edge of. So for example, we work on the entire deal execution revenue enablement piece, but this is our edge of engagement that we touch and we enable for
Got it.
customers.
So how much of what you guys do, Gorish, is designed or oriented towards top of funnel and lead, acquisition, converting leads into an SQL or call it a first meeting, versus is it geared more for moving the deal along in the opportunity, sales cycle into closing the customer, right? Meaning, how much of that is oriented towards SDRs, BDRs versus account
Yeah.
execs? I was trying to get
Yeah,
a sense.
primarily it's account exits and moving the deal from opportunity to close and beyond.
Okay.
This layer that I talked about, which is the referral sources, the churned customers,
Yeah.
the additional rep information, that's the layer which would touch this SDR, BDR side of the house.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, because just to give you some context, yeah, what we've crafted here, as you can see, right, it's more geared towards the
Yep.
top of funnel to first meeting, SDR use case. But okay, I get it. Um, and then we were going to add another, as I said, advertising is another component here, on and on down. So okay, so that makes sense. Any other quick thoughts as we switch over to Bala in terms of what you see happening in your world? Uh,
I
just
think
looking
the other
ahead.
thing
Yeah.
which always gets me excited is a lot of people are trying cloud code and
Okay.
code
Yeah.
and a lot of other technologies to build some of this in-house, and they're having initial successes. It demos extremely well, but
Mm,
what we have typically realized with our customers is after a few months of trying to put it in production and making it at scale, that exercise fails
mhm.
pretty badly. And
Got it.
the, there are there is a good aspect to building on your own, but a lot of people don't fully realize because of the trend on social media and X that
Mm,
there is a lot of nuances in getting a system up and running to a production level. And we see that time and again where we have customers that initially went down the build route, then came back
mm.
to say, hey, we want to actually explore a solution. So
Got it.
I think previously I was seeing the Claude Code MCPs from Prashant. So as just
Yeah.
was something that came to mind while I was looking at that.
100%. I think Prashant is obviously talking about use cases where he's improving his own productivity. So,
Yeah,
but I think there's a difference between that
it
and
definitely works. Yeah.
having be a process that can be applicable across the enterprise, and then have everybody to be able to use and leverage that. But thanks again, Gorish. Let me switch over if we can to Bala now. So, Bala, tell
Hi.
us about the the world of marketing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I know you did this amazing book called Pre-Sales Influence Framework.
yeah. It's called
How has your thinking changed since you wrote that book? And we spoke I think several months ago.
Yeah, yeah. So 470, you can pull it up. It's 470.com. It'll just go to the
Yeah,
Amazon page. That is
yeah.
the book itself. I think when I wrote it, well, it was a couple of years in the making. So this was pre sort of this AI bus area, and then I think when I published it, certainly ChatGPT came around, but not to the extent that it is in today, with Cloud
Mhm,
Code and other things that we'll talk about. So lots of things have changed. I think it has changed for the better, I would say.
mhm,
um, I do have several. I do have AI in every sections. There are really 8 parts to the first 70 framework. I think
mhm,
AI was applicable even then in the way I wrote it,
mhm,
but more from external tools perspective.
mhm,
Things that you could use as external tools in each of those areas, which are all AI driven.
mhm,
However, I think now, and Gorish and Prashant, you mentioned we're talking about it. Now, a lot of it could be automated. Um,
mhm,
pretty well actually. And I think Cloud Code is really amazing, and I agree with Gorish that when you think of systems and when you think of enterprise grade and sort of SSOs and authentication and all of those type of things, it becomes a challenge to use
mhm,
it. But
mhm,
for you to design systems yourself, not just for productivity, which again I feel is like 100 times what it has been before, personally for myself and the team. However, I think even for building systems, for example, um, to codify for 70 across each of those areas, to be
mhm,
able to automate it in a way that you can feed in an input and really get a very structured usable output using
mhm,
Cloud Code is within reach, and I've done that. And
mhm,
so that is something that is really amazing. So I feel like the principles haven't changed. I think the concept of
Mm,
470 is there, and it will always be there. But
mhm,
I think the tool stack flow has increased, and your own at Quanzu, the way you improved has been dramatic from a perspective of what can be done. Um,
mhm,
but simpler things, from a content automation perspective, from identifying gaps, from building. I talk about this concept of feature benefit transformation in the book, which is
mhm,
essentially a lot of people. No one realized that they shouldn't talk about features of the product. They want to elevate it to a benefit level, which is needed.
mhm,
But the real magic is not even in benefits, it's in transformation. It's how do you
mhm,
transform the life of the company or the people, or there's a certain level of people as well associated, not just the company. If I
mhm,
can do something that betters Kwanzaa and betters you, you'd be more tuned to listening to me than just one part of it. But how do you transform, right? How do you put in messaging that's transformative and then not just beneficial is important. And in the book, I write about a lot of the ways in which you can do it. But now with Cloud Code, you can codify it and get
Yeah. So got it. That's the exciting part, Bala, right? Because operationalizing or codifying is the real exciting part, at least to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
What I would love for you, as I said, we're doing these monthly AI GTM cafe, with the Luma link, and we're going to bring in these marketers. It's a kind of invite session. Hopefully, you can join us for one of the upcoming
Sure. Absolutely,
sessions.
Yeah.
And talk about what you've done to codify, because you're covering a part that we don't do. I think what you just saw in terms of the
Correct.
the 10-layer AI sales automation process stack that we showed you, that was all in the understand buying signals, understand how to operationalize those signals, have the right messages, put it. But that's really that whole SDR, BDR workflow process.
Correct.
From what I know, what you've got is really the other side of it, which is getting the right
Part of it
positioning
overlaps.
and messaging and message out. Right?
So I think even in the first summary framework, it starts, as you know, with what you do very well, which is sort of what I call as journey and intelligence, is to get the intel, it's to get the signals at the top end, because that is important, because without it, you're kind of shooting in the dark, thinking what you are thinking, and it's not necessarily based on what the market is telling you. So that's the first layer. But yes, the second part of it goes into what I call as positioning and messaging, which we kind of partly talked about in terms of how do you message yourself, how do you position yourself in the market so that you have the USP, you have the uniqueness, and you have the differentiation, so you have a chance to play in the playing field. And the third concept is sort of brand and authority, which is important to be able to position yourself. And I gave examples in the book of the previous company that I was with, where we really positioned ourselves in the cloud governance space, that really elevated us to have conversations with enterprises. And how do you really position that? So that becomes the third layer. And the fourth layer is sort of what we briefly talked about, is the feature benefit transformation, sort of content. How do you put out that content? But then very quickly, the next layer grows into growth and demand, which is sort of what you talked about in terms of how do you systematically, I think what you mentioned, you said, I think I go into nuance in terms of positioning and brand and authority and content, which is what you called as messaging in your framework, but that's sort of the nuanced build on there. But signals to messaging, and the next layer is growth and demand, which is sort of what you talked about. But then I also go into how do you expand it into partners and ecosystem? How do you get how do you expand the influence of partnerships in there, and then community and advocacy? Because community today, especially with a lot of automation that can be done from a perspective of things that you can do, especially with Cloud Code, Cloud Cowork, and I'm using Cloud because I'm a user of Cloud, but other systems are equally probably good as well. I think the layer that I feel is a good, strong moat is community, because that is very difficult to dislodge. Even if you have all kinds of automation, even if you have all kinds of systems in place, if you have a community built around it, that is a moat that can live on, and that becomes a very strong differentiator for you. So I talk about that. And then the last layer is just how do you get all of these pieces together and do it. But while the book itself, when I wrote it, the intent was to be practical, not theoretical. So I have sort of broken it down into how it applies to a startup, to mid-market, to enterprise, because these are very different dynamics in terms of what you can do. And then I also have sort of 30, 60, 90-day frameworks and such. I think now you can elevate all of that to actualizing it using AI, which is really incredible.
Right. So what I was thinking, Bala, this is obviously for another day, is, maybe we can collaborate, right? Come up with what does this layered, call it a process/stack look like, right? For what you've been focused on, which is how do you influence buyers earlier in the earlier phases of just attracting them to the brand. So that'd be amazing.
Yeah. And this is good. I saw as you scrolled it through, I think this is a good architecture, a good framework, and it'll follow something similar in terms of how you can do. Now, of course, with what I have, we may not need a lot of these individualized tools. Of course, you need channels, right, to go with, whether it's LinkedIn or other areas. but it could literally be, Kwanzu could be very well used all the way up front, but a couple of tools can be put in place to kind of do it, and that's how I've done it.
Okay, awesome. So let me just put up a thank you slide as we begin the wrap up. Any final thoughts, Bala?
No, I think the pace of advancement is just so incredible now that it is easier. We always talk about marketing and sales alignment. I think a lot of those can be very well actualized now with the AI advancements. That I think it's a great time to be in the space.
Yeah. So let me just put up the final thank you slide, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bala, again for joining
Thank you
today
very
at
much.
short notice.
Yes.
Really appreciate it. How
Yes.
can people reach you? LinkedIn?
Yeah,
Email?
LinkedIn is the best. LinkedIn is the best. Or if they want to check out the book, it's just first70.com. It'll go directly to the Amazon link.
Awesome. And folks, the other speakers we had today, guests, Gorish's LinkedIn and email is right here, as well as Prashant. Look for the Luma link down at the end of this podcast, the LinkedIn Live. You'll see it on our company page. Come join us for our monthly growth cafe, AI GTM growth cafe. And it's the upcoming session is on Wednesday, the 18th at 8 a.m. Thanks again, Bala. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye for
All
now.
right. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.